Hi, I'm Lee with Sanctuary Family Farms. I'm married to Kai. We have two kids. Eli is coming up on 13, and Kira, our daughter, is about to turn 10. And I am the farmer of the family.
What is the most important day of our life? Have you ever thought about it? Is it the day we were born? Was it the day we made a commitment to God and accepted His salvation? Was it the day we married our best friend? Was it the day our children were born? Or have we even lived our most important day yet? Will it be when our kids graduate college? Will it be the day we walk our daughters down the aisle and give them away to a man that she loves so dearly? Or watching our son's reaction as he sees his bride for the first time? Will it be when they have kids of their own and we hold our grandbabies for the first time? Will it be when we retire and spend more time with the people we care about? Will it be the day our time on earth is over and God calls us home to spend eternity with Him? Maybe the most important days of our lives weren't the most pleasant days. Maybe it was the day we were kicked to the street. Maybe it was the day we chose to put a child up for adoption rather than aborting them. Maybe it was the day we decided to become clean and sober for the first time. Maybe it was the day we realized that war is a terrible thing, but suicide isn't the answer. Maybe it was the day the doctors only delivered bad news. Maybe it was the day our spouse filed for divorce. Maybe it was the day we lost our job. Maybe it was the day we lost a loved one in a tragic accident. There is a miracle in all these things, even the unpleasant. It is a sign that God is still working in our lives. Romans 8:28 reminds us that all things work together for good. The miracles show us the unconditional love, grace, forgiveness, and healing power of God. But what if I told you that no matter how life-changing all these events and days seem to be, the most important day we live is today? Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. This moment, this day. God has been working with me on living life daily instead of living event to event. It becomes overwhelming, exhausting, and fearful, projecting what will or needs to happen and trying to make it work out. In construction, I had to see the big picture and the smallest details at the same time to get the project done. Budgets, schedules, workforce, contracts, and so on could get really overwhelming if I didn't stay 3 steps ahead. But that was the nature of the beast. In farming, I'm planting the next year's crop before the current crop is harvested. There are always changes to be made, and sometimes I live with the mistakes for a year before they can even be fixed. My entire adulthood has been spent not really living day by day, but job by job, season by season, event by event. I prayed to God and asked Him to guide me and help me understand how to do it. I am always looking to the future. When I look to the past, I only see what I want to change in the future, but often I am lost in the present. I can't sit still. If I can't learn to live in the moment, what kind of life am I really living? Dwelling on the things that happened in the past does no good. Even if I have regrets, I can't go back and change them. Yeah, maybe I wish I had played football instead of getting a job, but it's not like I can go back and join a varsity football team. How absurd. Worrying about encountering something in the future also does no good. If I focus so much on how I want life to play out, I will miss life altogether. It reminds me of the wisdom we were always told in raising our kids. No matter how ready you are to be done with one stage of their life, enjoy it, because you never get that time back. And having experienced it myself, I know the truth and wisdom in it. But even as I know all this, I still struggle with focusing on today. God gave me a simple analogy to help me. Imagine going on a trip. Even though you've mapped out the trip, You don't know what you will encounter along the way. Now think about driving at night. You can only see as far as the headlights shine. You can't see your destination, but you can see far enough to get there. Do your headlights give you enough reaction time to make any necessary adjustments or corrections? Don't worry about the things you can't see beyond the lights. If you could see further, you would miss something that was right in front of you because the focus was on the wrong thing. Keep driving the car. You can deal with the obstacles when you get to them as they come. Stay alert and do what you know to do. Don't worry about whatever has slowed you down behind you. No matter what you have already passed, looking in the rearview mirror only makes it smaller and smaller because you're moving forward. Keep moving forward. Take care of what you see in the lights and have faith that God will reveal those things you can't. As I think about this analogy, I'm reminded how many times the Scripture tells us the world is full of darkness. But more importantly, Jesus is referred to as the light of the world. John 8:12 says, Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. What if I allow Jesus to be my headlights? Would it not bring peace knowing that He is there with me, directing my path and revealing the things I need to watch for? The Scripture also says numerous times to be sober and be vigilant, which reminds me to stay focused and not get distracted or fall asleep. What about the deer that unexpectedly jumps out right in front of the car, you might ask? Does that mean that Jesus fails? No. It only means that He wants us to experience those things, not so we lose our faith, but so we can go through them, conquer them, and grow in our faith. Jesus said it best when He said, Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? But for this cause came I unto this hour. John 12:27. Lately I have been more at peace and been able to live more appropriately. It doesn't mean that it's always easy. Every morning I wake up and I try to pray first thing before my feet even hit the floor. I simply pray, God, today is your day. Help me live it for you and not worry about anything else. Guide me and give me wisdom to deal with whatever you bring to me. Let me walk in your joy and be a light for others to see you. It changes my perspective and makes it easier for me to say, This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Hey, Lee, that's really, it's so simple, but it's simply profound, because I think that the key in there, like you said, the last verse, this is the day the Lord hath made, I will rejoice and be glad in it. To me, it's almost like realizing that, for example, and maybe give this example, here on the farm, you kind of know what you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you're going to be doing. Because the day may bring something that we did not even anticipate. So
Every day.
It could be weather, it could be circumstance, it could be breakdowns, it could be animals that get sick, it could be just the change of priorities because of things. And I know that at times it's really easy, it is for me, to get frustrated because, number one, I just want to finish what I started.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate not finishing what I started. And yet, for me to finish what I start sometimes is to avoid the very necessary things that are there. You know, if I'm started here digging a ditch and I have a water line break, and I can say, no, I'm not going to get that water line until I finish this ditch, then I may have a flood by the time I get over to doing the other.
Right.
And I know that, and I don't like it. And that's, I think, to me, that's a little bit of saying, well, I want to control what I do. I want to derive at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know sometimes I'm looked at as a person who makes a schedule about what we do, And actually, I'm saying, yeah, well, the schedule kind of makes it as to what I see that we'll do. I'm not like, oh, I want to do this, but maybe I have to do that. Being able to focus on the fact that it's not mine to do, it's God's. I'm His worker. Now, I'm certainly not the boss. I'm just the chief errand boy. And if we hold that factor in there and believe that, I think that's the only thing that gives me contentment. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'd be frustrated all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Right. I think I'm kind of a type A personality, and I've always remember like being criticized. Well, you have no motivation as a young kid. You don't have any of this, and what's your drive? You got to be driven. You got to be all this stuff, and so then you're taught and you're directed to do all this stuff, and then when you get there, and then it's like, but I'm so driven that I miss everything. I miss everything because it's like you don't even take time for the small things. It's like my kids try to talk to me. I'm like, whatever. I'm not. Yeah. They're like, you're not even listening to me. I'm like, yeah, I am. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Of course, I'm not. But
it's like God trying to talk to you when you're praying, and you say, "Shut up, God, I'm praying." Would you just be quiet?
And that is hard. It's, and like you said, there's so many things that come your way that are completely out of your control, and sometimes. I remember, and we've talked about it in the past when I had the truck wreck, who would plan to turn an 18-wheeler over? Nobody. Is like, you're insane if that's your plan for the day. And to start off the day early in the morning and for that to happen first thing of the day, there's no plan in that. I mean, and so it's like God gives you these things, and you're kind of reminded, knocked on the head with a bat going, hey, who's actually in charge here? And there's so many things that I struggle with trying to. Of course, we keep talking about it over and over again. With me, is I'm trying to lay down my control and see and live what He wants me to live, and that gets even though I'm making improvements, I'm nowhere near where I need to be.
You're not Jesus yet. Huh?
No, I can't walk on water. Trust me.
You can in the pig pen when it floods.
No.
Almost.
No, I can't make the water. We've hit a few of those water lines before.
I think the Bible talks about God granting us peace. And yet, when I think of peace, rest, I think, okay, when I get through, I'll rest.
Oh, and isn't that such a deception?
Oh, isn't it, though?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
Because I'm never through. I never rest.
Well, even that's just on the work schedule. But I've lived my life thinking that, and Kai and I were talking the other day, and I had the same idea with her. It's like, you know what? Sometimes we even trying to help and encourage other people. It's like, man, I've had this attitude of like, well, can't really criticize that because I do it myself. Well, wrong is still wrong, whether I do it or not. So. Sometimes we have this idea, or we're taught this idea, well, you can't, and I guess you can kind of go back to Jesus with Mary Magdalene on casting the first stones, but sometimes we have this idea that you can just let things go and not address them because, well, you're guilty of it yourself. But at the end of the day, I have this idea that, I got to fix myself first before I can help someone else. And I'm kind of getting to the conclusion that I'm working with my son on several things as he's maturing and becoming a young man. It's like, as I'm seeking those things out, it's kind of helping me become a man, even refine the kind of man that I am. And so I think there's that deception that we were talking about. It was like, yeah, we can just check this off our list. We'll get done. We'll get caught up. And I don't think life works that way.
Oh, listen, if I had to preach a sermon on the things I've conquered, it would be silence. It would be nothing.
I would nearly say failure, but I'm in the sense that, yeah, I've conquered. I'm a master at failing. I can fail again and again and again.
So I think he said, I give my beloved rest. And that's important because when it's rest, it comes from Him. It's like when I think, well, God, this has to be done, and this has to be done, and this has to be done, and I'm in a position where I go, God tells me, He says, Mike, I could do that in a second. It's not what you're doing that's so critical. It's who you're becoming and who you are and what you are to yourself and to me and to other people. So I sit back and say, God, maybe it took Noah 140 years to build the ark. It has taken you 1 minute. You could do miraculous things. So I have to refocus on it's not what I do, it's why I do it and who do I do it for. And in that, I can find there's times of rest because God will take the slack up.
Yeah, and I think there's one more I would add to that would be in the attitude in which I do it, and that's what I'm trying to work on. I've always told my wife and my kids, attitudes are contagious, and that's, I don't know where it came from, but that's a thing that a truth to me that I picked up and that I believed in. Like, if people are around you, if you have a bad attitude, it's just going to spread like wildfire. If you have a good attitude, you know what? You may not change that person's because they still have a choice, but still it's contagious. And I think, I've got that stuff that I still have to work on, is that those days that when you break that water line and just was not on the books to do that day.
It wasn't scheduled.
It's like, okay, yeah, I've got to have a good attitude in all things, because I think that's what was neat about Christ with his disciples. Even whenever Peter betrayed him, it wasn't that he was like held animosity or was trying to judge him or anything like that. He was like, okay, you're right here at this place, but I'm going to move you over to here. And you know what? You have choice in that, but all I got to do is be steady and consistent.
Yeah. And I think of that whenever, the monumental thing, whenever Jesus heard that Lazarus was sick and Mary and Martha sent for him to heal him. And the disciples are, I guess we better go, because Jesus, like Lazarus is Jesus' really good friend. And Jesus said, no, he sleepeth. And they said, oh, well, he must be getting better then because he's sleeping. He said, no, he's dead. And when he got there, Mary and Martha were both upset, of course. If you had come at this time, he would have been alive. And yet Jesus knew that God's purpose was to raise him from the dead. That was a tremendous miracle that a lot of people came to Jesus over. Had he merely came to heal him, it wouldn't have been the same. Mm-hmm. So sometimes in economy of things, I need to also sit back and go, God, if it's important to be done and I can't do it, you'll do it. If it's important to be done and I can do it, you'll show me how to do it.
Right.
And either way, I'm going to trust that you're at peace, God, I'm at peace.
Yeah.
Now, how much time I can achieve that is another question.
Yeah.
But I've got to know the rope. I've got to know the plan first before I can execute it.
And that was something that I kind of had thought about, that I actually, in looking back at the blog, that I left out of the blog, is we live in a life where you get in your car, and most that when people take road trips, first thing they do is they turn their GPS on. They turn GPS on because it guides us. It tells us what our expected time is, what we do. Okay, it reroutes us if we have construction delays or car wrecks or anything like that. And we rely on that so much, but God gave us a GPS through the Word, and we don't rely on it. We don't trust it.
Exactly, Lee. That's a good analogy. That is so true. That is so true. Imagine how many times I get lost without it. Mm-hmm. And yet sometimes I am terrible. Used to when GPS came out and they'd say, turn left, turn left, turn left. I'm like, shut up. I can see it. I can do it. Don't bug me. And yet it's time I didn't know it. So yeah, absolutely true. That's a great thought, Lee. Good blog, good way of thinking, mature way of thinking. So let us go into maturity.
I hope so. That's where I'm going.
Praise so. See you, Lee. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Hey y'all, thanks for joining us for Around the Supper Table. At Sanctuary Family Farms, we want to be real. Whether that's through our blogs, daily verses, or even Nana's recipes, we want to share the messages that God has laid on each of our hearts. If you liked what you heard today or want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Sanctuary Family Farms or our website at www.sanctuaryfamilyfarms.com, where we share our recipes and blogs and sell farm fresh beef and pork. We can't wait for you to join us again for next week's episode.